This thin book is a summation, if brief, of the results of 50,000 years of thinking men. Their materials, researched and capped by a quarter of a century of original search by L. Ron Hubbard, have brought the humanities, so long outdistanced by the exact sciences, into a state of equality, if not superiority, to physics, chemistry, and mathematics. No such knowledge has ever before existed, and no such results have ever before been attainable by man as those which can be reached by a study of this brief volume. The term Scientology is taken from the Latin word "scio," knowing in the fullest meaning of the word, and the Greek word logos, study of. Scientology is further defined as the study and handling of the spirit in relationship to itself, universes, and other life. Dianetics is a forerunner and sub-study of Scientology. Dianetics comes from the Greek words dia, through, and nous, mind or soul. Dianetics is what the soul is doing to the body. Like engineering, Scientology has certain basic principles. These are necessary to a full understanding of the subject. You may have been taught that the mind, spirit, and life are very difficult things to know about. This is the first principle of Scientology. It is possible to know about the mind, the spirit, and life. Existence to most people. One can discover 8 main divisions, to each of which apply the conditions of existence. Each division also contains a cycle of action. There could be said to be 8 urges, drives, impulses in life. These we call dynamics. These are motives or motivations. We call them the 8 dynamics. There is no thought or statement here that any one of these 8 dynamics is more important than the others. While they are categories of the broad game of life, they are not necessarily equal to each other. It will be found amongst individuals that each person stresses one of the dynamics more than the others, or may stress a combination of dynamics as more important than other combinations. The purpose in setting forth this division is to increase an understanding of life by placing it in compartments. Having subdivided existence in this fashion, each compartment can be inspected as itself and by itself in its relationship to the other compartments of life. In working a puzzle, it is necessary to first take pieces of similar color or character and place them in groups. In studying a subject, it is necessary to proceed in an orderly fashion. To promote this orderliness, it is necessary to assume, for our purposes, these 8 arbitrary compartments of life. The first dynamic is the urge toward existence as oneself. Here we have individuality expressed fully. This can be called the self dynamic. The second dynamic is the urge toward existence as a sexual activity. This dynamic actually has two divisions. Second dynamic A is the sexual act itself, and the second dynamic B is the family unit, including the rearing of children. This can be called the sex dynamic. The third dynamic is the urge toward existence in groups of individuals. Any group or part of an entire class could be considered to be a part of the third dynamic. The school, the society, the town, the nation are each part of the third dynamic, and each one is a third dynamic. This can be called the group dynamic. The fourth dynamic is the urge toward existence as or of mankind. Whereas one race would be considered a third dynamic, all the races would be considered the fourth dynamic. This can be called the mankind dynamic. The fifth dynamic is the urge toward existence of the animal kingdom. This includes all living things, whether vegetable or animal, the fish in the sea, the beasts of the field or of the forest, grass, trees, flowers, or anything directly and intimately motivated by life. This can be called the animal dynamic. The sixth dynamic is the urge toward existence as the physical universe. The physical universe is composed of matter, energy, space, and time. In Scientology, we take the first letter of each of these words and coin a word: MEST. This can be called the universe dynamic. The seventh dynamic is the urge toward existence as or of spirits. Anything spiritual, with or without identity, would come under the heading of the seventh dynamic. This can be called the spiritual dynamic. The eighth dynamic is the urge toward existence as infinity. This is also identified as the supreme being. This is called the eighth dynamic because the symbol of infinity stood upright makes the numeral 8. This can be called the infinity or God dynamic. Both the cycle of action and the three conditions of existence belong in each dynamic. They could best be represented as a series of concentric circles, wherein the first dynamic would be the center, and each new dynamic would be successively a circle outside it. The idea of space expanding enters into these dynamics. The basic characteristic of the individual includes his ability to so expand into the other dynamics. But when the seventh dynamic is reached in its entirety, one will only then discover the true eighth dynamic. One discovers that a baby at birth is not perceptive beyond the first dynamic. But as the child grows and interests extend, the child can be seen to embrace other dynamics. A person who is incapable of operating on the third dynamic is incapable at once of being a part of a team, and so might be said to be incapable of a social existence. No one of these dynamics from 1 to 7 is more important than any other one of them in terms of orienting the individual. While the dynamics are not of equal importance one to the next, the ability of an individual to assume the beingness, doingness, and havingness of each dynamic is an index to his ability to live. abilities and shortcomings of individuals can be understood by viewing their participation in the various dynamics.